Hi everyone, it's Lori. I am back for the third in my series of read aloud recommendations. So, in the first video, which I will link below, I talked about books that are great for that 4 to 7 age range. And in the second one, I was focusing in on maybe 8 to 12. And so, this one is going to be read alouds for tweens and teens. This is probably my shortest pile of books. My daughters are currently 12 and 14. So I would love, love, love for you to add recommendations in the comments for me because I'm always looking for more read aloud books. So without any further wait, let's get into these books. So this is one of the more classic. It is a series. We have not read the entire series. Thinking we may have read the first 2 or 3. But that is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. Very, very classic book. I don't know about the entire series because, as I said, we haven't gotten through the entire series. But I really enjoyed A Wrinkle in Time. I have not seen the movie that just came out. From what I hear from other book people, I'm probably not going to see the movie that just recently came out. But if you have a strong opinion that I should, please let me know in the comments below. So, A Wrinkle in Time follows Meg and her brother Charles Wallace and their friend Calvin, and they end up like traveling through space. It's very complicated, but they're trying to save their father. So, yeah, I do enjoy this one. I believe we did also read A Wind in a Door and maybe A Swiftly Tilting Planet, but I have never finished the entire thing. So if you think that I should finish this out with my kids, please let me know because we could always do that. So Madeleine L'Engle, good start. Moving on, this next set of books, and I only have one of the two because the other two we checked out, or the other one we checked out from the library, is a hilarious set of books. If you have seen the movie Home, you would really enjoy these because these are the books that the movie Home was based on. Now, there is not a whole lot that's the same between the books and the movie Home. The movie Home is totally appropriate for my little nephews. I don't know that this one is appropriate for really little kids. I do remember some like curse word type things in it, but it is hilariously funny. So the first one is called The True Meaning of Smek Day. And so if you've seen the movie Home, you know that the main character is O. Well, in the book, the main character is J-Lo, which is just hilarious. So O is J-Lo in this. And it follows kind of the same plot, but not really as the movie. This one has so much more going on, but we have Tip. Yeah, Gratuity Tucci. And it begins with an assignment about write an essay titled The True Meaning of Smek Day. And so it starts out with Gratuity Tucci's 8th grade essay on the true meaning of Smek Day. But it just kind of follows the whole story of what happened. And this was just hilariously funny, so we checked out the next one from the library, and that one is called Smek for President. Also very funny. So if you're looking for a humorous read, they'll just crack everybody up in the family. I really enjoyed The True Meaning of Smek Day. Another funny one that we really enjoyed that could definitely go younger. Like this one, I went back and forth whether it belonged in the 8 to 12 or the tweens and teens video, is the Phantom Tollbooth. I ended up putting this Phantom Tollbooth in this older kids version because I think it's funnier when you're older because you just understand a little bit more of it. So this is another kind of like weird fantasy sort of thing. So Milo, the main character, visits like the islands of conclusions, and you can get there by jumping. You're jumping to conclusions. So just a lot of hilarious language stuff in the Phantom Tollbooth. So I enjoyed this one as well. If we want to go more serious, which I do try to do sometimes, we sometimes read some different historical fiction type novels. And of the ones that we've read in the kind of upper grades, I do think this was my favorite so far. It's called Boys Without Names. Now, this one is a little sadder. Honestly, if I had been in charge of reading aloud, we would not have read this one aloud, but my husband did the reading on this one. So we've got an 11-year-old in a rural Indian village, and then their family has to move to the city, and the 11-year-old wants to help support his family, and he kind of gets tricked into being enslaved. So these boys are working in a factory, but they're just being held captive, and so the main character starts being kind of a storyteller, and then I don't want to ruin the ending, but he kind of helps the boys remember that they did once have names, because they're not allowed to use names in this kind of enslaved state they're in. So Boys Without Names was really good, and much more serious than the last several that I've shown you. And then I have some classics, because we do like to introduce our girls to classic literature. So we have done some of them as read-alouds, and we've done some of them as family audiobooks. So I'm going to go over some of our top read-alouds here. So, Little Women. This one, I had never read before we read it aloud. I'm going to have to admit, my kind of book tastes growing up were not super sophisticated. So I read a lot of just not very good stuff. Like, I went through a Sweet Valley High phase. I went through a Babysitter's Club phase. And then I went through a whole long phase where I read all of the Cat Who books by Lillian Jackson Braun. Okay, that one was a little bit of a weird phase. But so, like, classic literature really wasn't my thing growing up. So I had never read Little Women. And so we did this one as a family read aloud. And I really enjoyed it. Of course, there is some sadness in the book, but it follows these 4 sisters and kind of just tells their life story. So they're an interesting group. Now, not all of them are fitting very well into the society that they're growing up in. And I really love their mom, who they call Marmee. She's just a wonderful mom, one of the best moms of literature that I can think of. So I highly recommend Little Women. There is several other books in the series. So Little Women is actually kind of the first 2 in a bind-up. And then there's Little Men, and then Joe's Boys, I think in that order. So I definitely have a copy of Little Men, because it was in a box set with this one. I don't think we have Joe's Boys, unless that too is a bind-up. I have not gone on. I really should read those sometime. And I really should reread this one as well. But this one was a great read-aloud. And then a few other classics that we have done as read-alouds I don't have, because we've had Kindle editions or gotten library editions, things like that, because, with classics it's pretty easy to do. We have enjoyed some Dickens, but a lot of Dickens we've done has been with audio, and so I will get back to Dickens when I get into favorite family audiobooks. But we did read aloud A Christmas Carol. Now that's one that really you could do at any age, because I feel like any age can handle A Christmas Carol. It's not that long of a book, but it just is one of those kind of classic things you should read. Also, The Gift of the Magi, we were kind of going through a Christmassy type theme. Those are some good ones. And then from the category of books that we did as read-alouds, because my husband was willing to do it, that I would not have been able to do myself, we did The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Now, Huckleberry Finn has some language that is not really thought of as appropriate anymore. I think I talked about this in one of the earlier ones, maybe the first video when I talked about the Little House books. Some people find it problematic when there are outdated kind of language or political things in books. I believe it's important for us to face those and talk to our kids about what is going on and why it is no longer acceptable. So, Huckleberry Finn has some derogatory terms repeated over and over and over and over and over again. And so my husband had absolutely no problem reading that aloud. I personally don't think I could have handled it. Plus, there's the dialect, and I am not very good at dialect, so I personally, if my husband had not wanted to read it, would have chosen an audio version just because I find it easier for a voice actor to do dialect than me. So, Huckleberry Finn was another good one. We haven't done Tom Sawyer. That's one we probably should do. And, honestly, we just need to do some more classic books. So I think I'm going to start trying to find some good classic books that we can do with our now basically teenage kids. So that is the end of this series on Read Aloud recommendations. If you have some great ideas for this older group, for tweens and teens for Read Aloud, please leave your suggestions below. Go ahead and like this video if you found it helpful, and feel free to subscribe. And until next time, have a good day. Bye.